Hey y'all, it's Nancy the Handy Scandy. Welcome back for another crafty venture. And I recently shared all of the projects that I've made so far for the hashtag Snowman of January. And this is again January 2024. Depending on when you're watching this, I'm filming in 2024. So I started by just pulling out a handful of different backgrounds and things that I had in my stash that I wanted to go through. And that's really where kind of the title for this video comes from, is that I really just used items from my stash. So I've settled on a couple, and I actually made several different projects during this particular session, if you will, but I really only filmed the whole thing for the one that I end up showing you on this one. So everything else I've cut out, and I'm only showing my process for making the snowman tag with this kind of wood grain background. And the embossing folder that created that is from Tim Holtz. I can't remember what he calls them, texture fades maybe? That's what he calls his embossing folders, but I just think it's very pretty, and it can really be kind of the base or the background of just about anything, any style of project really. So I have that, as you can see, and I have cut a second tag out of just some plain craft. It's just cheapo from my stock, or from my stash again, and it was actually in my scrap bin, and I cut it down as well so that I'll have a nice clean back. And then I have those two smaller tags up at the top that are going to be my toppers. And of course, as you can see, I've been adding some splatters. I've got some brown and some black, and here I'm bringing in some white. I actually tried to do splatters with a white picket fence, but that just didn't work. So I brought in some acrylic ink. And of course, I had a splattery mess everywhere. You can see my hands. Splattery mess everywhere, y'all. But I love how the tags turned out. And so these cute little snowmen are from one of the Stamp Timber collaborations between Simon Says Stamp and Pink and Maine. So obviously I'm using my Olos. I adore my Olos. I am getting some bleeding on this particular one. This cardstock, the white cardstock that I stamped on, was just in a scrap bin again in my stash, and I have no idea what kind of paper it's on, but it is really wanting to allow those excuse me, those Olo markers to bleed further than I want. So you can see I'm adding some shading to the little snowman, and I'm using my zero marker excuse me, to blend that out. But I also add a little bit more to where the blue has bled, and then I'm using a tissue to daub it up. Otherwise the blue just wants to spread even more. Now, in defense of the markers, because it's not the marker's fault, it's definitely operator error. Had I let the marker dry and then gone back in, then there wouldn't be all that moisture to allow the color to blend. Because just like watercolor, you think about when you put pigment in water that's already there and it just spreads. The same is true for alcohol markers. So if you have your cardstock all moist with marker, and the alcohol that's in that alcohol ink, it just allows all of that color to continue to spread and of course bleed outside of the areas that you want. So, but I did find that using that tissue to blot up what I didn't want was very successful. I've never seen that done. I just thought, well, let me try, and it actually worked very well. So you can see that I'm just finishing up here. I'm coloring them in the same colorway with the beiges and the kind of steely blues, not tealy blues. They're kind of steely blues, if you will. I don't know the numbers. Excuse me, I'm really bad about that. I've said that before. I've also offered, if you guys are interested in knowing what markers I've used, let me know, and I will try to be more cognizant and purposeful while I'm coloring. But no one has really ever said that they wanted it. I've had people say, yes, we want to see you color everything. That's why I'm leaving all this in. But in terms of the color combos, I've never had anybody say yes. So, so there you go. But there are only so many, right? They actually have some new colors coming out soon. But the options are, I mean, there's plenty, but there's not that many of the green blues to make this specific color combo. So anyway, you can color your snowman or your project in whatever colorway that you want. There's never any pressure or anything to try to do something exactly the way someone else has done. So I'm leaving in the fussy cutting here. Because a lot of people don't like to fussy cut and they think that it's tedious and difficult, and it can be tedious, especially if it's, if you just don't like it, if you have dexterity issues. I get that fussy cutting is very hard. For me, it's kind of a mindfulness exercise, if you will, because I'm just very present in what I'm doing. And I apologize for that noise. There's somebody turning on their horn outside. But yeah, I just very purposefully go around all of the edges. And here I have it slowed down just a little bit because I'm showing you how I just fussy cut the hill, the snow hill in between the two of them. And it was really very easy. And just like when people will sit in front of the TV and color, that's kind of how I feel about fussy cutting, especially if it's a larger space like these guys. Didn't take too long. Obviously didn't bother me, but you know what? Let me know your thoughts about fussy cutting downstairs. I know not everybody likes it. Again, I did a little bit of ink blending around my snow people and around the snowbank just to add some depth and dimension. Now here, I've left that part in. That was a wrong choice. Trying to free range stamp those snowflakes on the snowbank, just the wrong choice, and they look awful. And I was like, oh girl, what have you done? I never consider a project ruined because I know there's always a way to salvage it. Sometimes you might have to walk away and think about it before you can figure it out. Sometimes it might take a very long time. It might take, I don't know, I have projects that I am not happy with from years ago, but I will come back to them and I will salvage them. But see how I'm salvaging this? Yep. This calls for confetti to the rescue. These snowflakes are from one of the mixes. I believe it's the reindeer mix, and off the top of my head, I can't tell you what it's called. But there are several mixes, actually, that have these fun little snowflakes, and you can buy them individually as well. But I just pulled them out of that particular mix, and they solved the problem. I put them on the snowbank and obviously all up in the quote-unquote sky. And the little snowman on the right was holding a snowflake. The fussy cutting of that snowflake was too tedious to me. So, yeah, some things actually are too tedious for me as well. So I just snipped the snowflake off. And I put one of these hearts in his hand. And then, of course, the other hearts fluttering up into the air. Yeah, those hearts are from Honeybee and have been in my stash forever. And anyway, I just felt like they added that sweet little pop of red. They filled some of that white space, that empty space, if you will. But I don't know if it really needed it because the texture of the wood grain kind of does that visually for you anyway. Excuse me, but I just like the idea of a pop of red, and, we're coming up on Valentine's Day, and so that was, I felt like it worked. So this little snowflake ribbon, I love that it's in that kind of beigey and white colorway, and I added the little topper. I didn't talk about the topper. That was just die cut out of some darker craft paper that was in my stash as well. And you saw me add the splatter, and then I die cut it with the same die as I cut out the actual tags themselves. And then I used some of the shaped scissors in my stash. And yeah, that's how I got the little toppers. And I like to do that. I like to add that little contrast, or I don't know, maybe extra decorative element. I don't know. But also the little twig branches that I've colored up there. I used my Olos again just to add some depth and some dimension and some interest to those little tags, excuse me. And then of course I'm using the bulb pin with a little, what is it called, a charm from my stash as well. You saw that I had them in that little tray, and those were from when I was making the little snowman tags from the die from Impression Obsession. So those were again in my stash, just sitting there waiting to be used. And I pulled out another tiny little tag as well and added it to the bulb pin as well. And I did not use the snowflake, but you can see it sitting there. You could add the snowflake. You could do any number of charms. You don't have to do a charm. You make it your own. But again, I'm coming in here with what is that called? The glaze, some kind of glaze, Nouveau Crystal glaze. And again, just adding some more dimension to those little berries. And here is my tag up close. You can see that the glue wasn't quite dry. I'm pushing down on those spots where it was struggling. And yeah, I just think it turned out really fun. I like it a lot. You guys let me know what you think. I will be bringing some more projects for Snowmen of January. But until next time, guys, meet me downstairs in the comments. Like, subscribe, all those things. I'd love to see you back really soon. And until then, y'all, this is Nancy, the Handy Scandy, and I'm out. Mwah!